Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, viewers. Welcome back again. Thank you very much for viewing my videos. I posted 3 videos a week ago. Nasser Rashid, various sects in Islam and how to be a true Muslim, various Pakistani sects, number 3, and various sects and how to be a true Muslim, number 2. The 3 videos, you can watch that. And then I've posted 4 more videos which on the topic of death and punishment of grave, 1 and 2, death and punishment of grave, number 2, and death and punishment of grave, number 3 and number 4. 4 videos. And recently, I posted Nasser Rashid, coloring and dyeing of the beard and hair in Islam according to authentic hadith. The topic was for that, but then I added a few other things to it. But just to catch on the last video which I made, Nasser Rashid, coloring and dyeing of the beard and hair in Islam. Just to background on that, I needed to add a few more points which I probably have overlooked, or just give you the brief history of it. During the time of Prophet Muhammad Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam in Mecca and all over Arabia, it was a tradition for all men had beards. So it was a common practice, a common way, and a common tradition that everyone, whether a non-believer or other people who were Christians or Jews in Arabia at that time, they all had beard, and man was known to have a beard, and it was a common practice. And even here in England in the 16th, 17th, 18th centuries, and people have beard, as you can see. And even when people ask me, you have a long beard. A Gori asked me once, and I said, I like to be like Jesus, that if they go to church, they have a beard. So all the prophets had beard, and everyone at that time during Prophet Muhammad Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam had beard, and all the prophets had beard. So it was a common practice. For example, now that everybody shaved off now, yes, it's a common practice wherever you go to Muslim land, non-Muslim land, in the UK, in the West or the East or North or South, wherever you go, it's a common practice now that everybody is shaven. And if you have a beard like me, and they go into some sort of a football stadium, and it will look odd, as you would see in the cricket matches, they have these Muslim and cricketers, and they look different from the rest of them, of all the teams that are playing, and the people with beard look different. So everybody watches them. Similarly, at that time, it was a tradition and norm of the time that everybody had a beard, and it was a normal practice. And also at that time, that everyone had covered their heads. There was the only people who didn't cover their head were the slaves. So you must remember these traditions, and to give you an idea, just you need to understand this clearly, because people don't know the history and the background of issues and the timings, and then they have their own mind and imaginations. The turban or the head was covered at the time of everyone during Prophet Muhammad Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam's time in Mecca, and people who didn't cover their head were the slaves. So when the slave was released from someone, then he would wear a turban and umama around his head, and then he would walk and wear clothes of different, like the Arabs, and he will be known that he is a free man and he can do whatever he wants. So you must remember this clearly, and this will give you an idea. At that time, the beard and covering the head was known as a noble tradition. Then those slaves, the slaves of those at that time, they were not supposed to wear any turban and cover the hand. The head should be like should be not covered. So subhanallah, those who cover the head with the cap or with the turban or the imama or green, the color green, I'm really conscious at that time when 1983, the Dawat Islami was launched. And I had attended some gatherings in that time in 80 during that time, but I always disputed their green color, the green parrots. But anyway, that's their issue. But the covering the head at that time was a tradition of all the Arabs, and particularly of the Prophet Muhammad Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. And those who were bareheaded, didn't have nothing to cover, were slaves. Subhanallah. So now when people, if you who are covering their head while they're working, or they've got the cap on their head, or especially the ones that, whichever color they use, that's a issue that people like, and if they like wearing green, that's fine. But those who cover, all these Muslims, those are the Tablighi Jamaat ones, the Deobandis, the Brelvis, and the Dawat Islami. They represent the true tradition of the Prophet Muhammad Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. And the Ahladis and the Salafis who go, bare, they don't wear anything, neither the cap or anything. They represent the tradition of slaves. And everyone in this age, the modern, the modern presidents, the modern, the hierarchy, everyone, whether in Pakistan, Muslim lands or non-Muslim lands, they represent this and the imagery of the slaves at during the Prophet Muhammad Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam time. Now, to give you an idea, some of these movies, when I was in 80s, I used to watch The Message. It's about Muhammad Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. They don't show me, it's made by in Hollywood, and other actors, Anthony Quinn and other actors have done so. The Message, you can watch it on YouTube now. I think I watched it in 80. It was such a good movie. But in that is in the 1979 or 1975. It's made in the 70s. And that time there was no video, and I watched it. I still have that, the VCR video recording. We used to have that, and we used to put those movies. I still have it with me, and I watched that at that time. Now you have YouTube and CDs and other things have, new ones have come out, so you can download it and watch it, The Message, because this gives you an idea. At that time, we had books, and people didn't have that much history. Now is the time of social media and other media outlets, so people don't have time to read the books. So I always watch good movies. Me and my wife, may Allah bless her soul in heavens, we used to watch in Ramzan, especially every Ramzan, as long as she was alive, we used to watch a special 30 days episode. And we watched Hazrat Ali Karamallah Wajh's movies. Mainly they are made by the Iranians and the Shia groups, and it's about Mukhtar, who took the revolt against the Bani Umayyah after the martyrdom of Imam Hussein alayhi salam. And so the many movies they made, and we watched them, every Ramzan. And it was really good because I read the history, and it really showed, some of them things. Whereas the Shias have actually portrayed this Shia kind of view of the situation, and yes, it's quite good. But in 19 the Message was made in 1975 or in the 70s, whereas the recent ones are just on the lighter, to show you why, and the beards and the tradition of the covering of the head, and the turbans that the Prophet ﷺ wore, or the people wore at the time. The most movie that we saw in 2014 and 2015 with my wife, for the 30 episodes, is the Omar series. The Omar series were released in 2012 by the Kuwaiti channel, and I think it's made by the Middle Eastern, some sort of a corporation, which is over 200 or 250 million dollars. It's one of the best movies I ever seen. Believe it or not, it's a series. It's a 30 episode series which was released in 2012, and inshallah I saw in 2014 or 15 with my wife, and 16 again, and I haven't seen it recently. But this is one of the best movies you can see it, you guys. You must watch it. It's called Umar series, and it's in 30 episodes. It's about the life of the Caliph Umar Farooq. As you know, I've told you that I have is one of my favorites, but I've read history, so that movie actually shows exactly, and it's 99.9% is correct, because the Qatar, the Qatari network who have made it, and their and the consultation, they have Muslim scholars, and one of them is Yusuf Qadawi, which has written a book, Haram and Halal. I used to read it in the 80s when I was in the college. So all the universities that teach, and all these modern scholars, all these big scholars, that you see on the YouTube or other places or gatherings, they all, get this knowledge from the book Halal and Haram from Yusuf Qadawi, and he's the Mufti, is the Grand Mufti of Qatar, and he is the one that he's also, and some other historian, and those are two other the Qataris have consultation with, and he is the main source of the consultation for making that movie. It's a beautiful Umar series, and if you watch it, the movie actually brings you to that kind of environment, mashallah, during the Prophet ﷺ time. It's the 6 years before the Prophet ﷺ, and after, starting from before his prophethood. 6 years, Umar bin Khattab was a young man. That's how they start, and then it goes back all the way to the Prophet ﷺ's time, all the battles during Prophet ﷺ's time, all the time of Umar, and also previous time of Hazrat Abu Bakr Siddiq, and all the other characters have shown, all the companions have been acting, they are actors, Umar Farooq, Usman Ghani, Hazrat Ali Karmala Waju, and Hazrat Abu Bakr Siddiq. They are all shown except the Prophet Muhammad Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. Only the she camel is shown, and some movement, but no face or no shadow. A slight shadow is shown of Hazrat Aisha Siddiqa during the time when Hazrat Abu Bakr Siddiq was about to depart from this world. Subhanallah. It's one of the best movies I ever seen. No Hollywood, no Hollywood can match it. And it will take you, my friends, it will take you to the real word of Islam and during Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam's time. It is one of the best movies, and you will see that Umar, that's why I like Umar. I told you that he, defeated the Persian Empire and the great Roman Empire. And he used to sleep on the floor. Subhanallah. That's why I always say to you, these companions, and Muhammad Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam used to sleep on the floor. And you would see him, and people came from I think some of the people came to see him, from the Romans. Some governor came or someone came. I don't recall, because 6-7 years ago, and he wanted. So where's your king, and where's his bodyguards, and where's his castle? And he said, we don't have that. We would be. And they said, okay, well, let's find him. And he's sleeping on the floor under a tree. Subhanallah, subhanallah. In the Medina, subhanallah. So these people, and he, one of the, I remember one of the in one of the episodes, the Persian princess is saying that we need to see who's that man that I like to see who's this man that the world powers fear him. And if you look at in this stage, in this time, in the modern world, Umar Farooq would have been the leader of 35 countries. Just imagine that. In this modern world, if you convert all the kingdoms, all the empire that he had, he would be the ruler of 35 countries at this time. He was such a just man, and he was brilliant. All the episodes and all the things are really beautiful, and inshallah, I don't have a chance now to watch it, but inshallah you should watch it. It's called Umar series, and if you download it, and it's mainly in Arabic, because that's the beauty of it. It's beautiful. I know it's translated in English. At that time, there was no translation. I used to tell my wife that this is what it means, and because I had learned the history and I knew it, and I always look for, and this is mashallah beautiful. It's one of the best ever movie made. It's 99% according to the history of. There are some issues where the difference of opinion could, say, where Hazrat Ali Karmala Waju, whether he was sleeping on the bed, or whether they knocked on the door and he come out. So there are some issues where in the message, the movies, they find that they break in the door, and they see that Hazrat Ali Karmala Waju is sleeping on Muhammad Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam's place on that place. Whereas in this movie, and they see that they knock on the door, and Hazrat Ali Karmala Waju comes out. So these are issues that but 99.9, and the battles. The most classic examples I watch is the battles. The battles, and it shows the determination of those companions. Subhanallah. And really, Allah chose them. Those people are really great. And the reason is the companions are one of the best ones ever existed with any messenger. And it's mentioned in the surah 48, surah Fatah. It is mentioned in the last ruku if you read it, because if you read Quran, then you know that the companions of Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam mentioned in the books of Jews and Christians. Subhanallah. So inshallah, 1 second please.